Hi, and welcome to a recording which shows the operation of a visualizer for Sonic Pi running on a Mac, which I've been writing, and which will accompany an article which will fully describe the programs and how to set them up if you want to have a go. We can see here the code for the visualizer, which is in the top here, and at the bottom you can see printouts of some of the OSC messages which have been received in a previous run. I'm going to start the visualizer running. It will produce a black screen which covers the whole screen area when I run it here. There we are. And if we now bring Sonic Pi in front of that, you can see here the controlling program, which has got two functions. At the bottom, there is a live loop, which I'm indebted to Eli. He posted it on the Sonic Pi group in Google, and liked it, and it's got good percussive output, so he said it'd be very happy for me to use it in this program. So that is going to produce some fairly percussive output using some of the built-in loops in Sonic Pi. And the top part of the program, all up here, is concerned with sending OSC messages to the visualizer, which are used to control the various parameters of it. And these all have the form, first of all, at the top we set the address at which they're going to. It's the local machine on 127.0.0.1, and I've selected port 5000 for it to listen to. And after that, any OSC command we use sends, first of all, an OSC address. I've preceded them all with /viz, short for visualizer, and then the rest of the address is indicative of what they're actually going to do. They just are all different so that the parsing program at the other end can decide what to do with the parameters which follow. This first one is going to set the shapes which we're going to use, either ellipses or stars or rectangles, and they can be combined together. So we could have ES in there or ERS if we want all three. This second one is going to set random values for RGB for the color that we're going to use for the shapes. The colors are actually altered within the program as well. These are just starting values. This one is to do with setting the width of strokes. Oops, I've got a little spelling mistake there, which I'll correct before we publish the program. There we are. And the audio threshold, which will govern the sensitivity and therefore how large the shapes are. And then we've got ones which are going to affect the random positional offset of the shapes we're drawing. These are the limits X and Y. So this is going to allow variation in the X direction, but not in the Y direction at the moment. And because it gets very cluttered, the shape, I've arranged for the program to automatically disable this particular effect if we've got more than one shape being displayed on the screen at a time, in which case they're displayed concentrically. Then we've got one where we can actually bounce the shapes around the screen, rather like one of the balls in the original teletennis games, where you've got a sort of square bouncing around a rectangle. Same sort of idea. Excuse my emails coming in there. Oops. And then we have one which controls the shape of the stars. This is done by controlling two circle radii, which govern the radius of the peaks of the stars and of the troughs. And then we can choose the number of stars, and we can specify a fixed value and a variable random one instead. So this would go from 5 up to 7 points on each star as it's set at the moment. The next one is going to control rotating the shape between each instance when it's drawing, and we can control this. At the moment they're both the same. If we set this now to perhaps something more like -8 there and 1, it's going at random either to switch it backwards or forwards by an amount of 40 or on by 5 degrees each time it goes around this loop. Now if we want to cancel that, we can just set the RV there to 0, and then we've got the sound bit. So enough talking. Let's now fade down the transparency of Sonic Pi, and also we're just going to have to bring, because we had that interruption with the email, I'm just going to have to bring the black screen to the front first so we can stack everything up in the right order. There we are. Now we can reveal that again, and we just see the black screen behind, and we'll start this running. Perhaps one thing to say is that I've set up an FX level to control the volume of the sound that this produces, and we're going in a thread here to control its volume by fading it in over 10 seconds, leave it for 140 seconds, then fade it out for 10 seconds. One final OSC message sends viz stop to the sketch which is producing the visualization, and that in turn sends back a stop all jobs command to port 4557 on Sonic Pi, and effectively stops all programs running on Sonic Pi, so we can just close everything down nicely like that. So let's fade that down and then start this running, and here we go with Sonic Pi Visualiser. Start off with the ellipse shape, and it's got variation in the X direction because of this variable up here, the 20 naught, but because it's also rotating, it appears in other directions as we go along. So let's first of all stop the rotation, which we can do by setting that to 0 and then rerunning the program. And now you can see that the variation is just in the horizontal direction. I said that if we had more than one shape at a time, then it would stop that from actually happening. So if we come up to the top here, we can add in a rectangle shape as well and run that. Now as soon as we've got two shapes, they are concentric, and you can see them drawn there. And we could perhaps put the shift on here and shift those around the screen, just having them bouncing around the screen like that. Let's switch to a star shape itself, and that will bounce around the screen because we've still got that 20 on here. Let's just turn it off for the single shape by setting that to 0, and the star, that shape goes back every 4 seconds. So let's just run that again. Should stop. Oh, sorry, it's the shift that's on. That's the one we want to turn off. There we are. And we've got the star, and by varying the number of points we can actually turn it into a sort of octagon or hexagon or something like that as well. Let's put rotation on that again, down here. Perhaps change that just to go smoothly round, because it's smoothly rotating round. We'll stop the differences in the sizing of the star, just go down to a fixed setting here. Then we'll finish up by adding on the ellipse as well at the end, just fading out. So there we are. The ellipse is quite nice. Let's just run it again with that running, just to finish off a few closing remarks. I hope you like the program. As you can see, it's quite flexible. You can do live coding of the visual displays here. You could, if you want, of course, also change the sound as well. So it just adds an extra feature to live coding on Sonic Pi. You can run the processing on a Raspberry Pi. There isn't any transparency in Sonic Pi there, and also you have a little problem with the sound input unless you have a sound card on there, but it should be possible in principle to get it working on Raspberry Pi or on Linux, or once it's fully out on the Windows version of Sonic Pi, because these also all support processing. So thank you for watching. If you want to have a go, this is on my site at rbnrpi.word, and you can get hold of there. Sorry, forgot the site. Let's just have a look at it. It's up here. There's the article waiting to be published here on rbnrpi.wordpress.com, and it will be published very shortly, and then you'll be able to enjoy it there. So, thank you very much for watching. We'll just stop this like that. There we go.